Hey guys, welcome to Shortcake Faith. My name's Faith, and I thought a good first video for my channel would be about my weight loss journey. I've lost about 70 pounds over the past year and a half after struggling a while with different types of diets. I did keto for a while, low carb, high protein, low sugar, low fat. I did most of what would seem as the trends of diets. So why did this one work? Well, a couple of different things. For one, I started with this app called MyFitnessPal, not sponsored, and it helped me track my calories. And they just said, focus on your calories, keep it low. So I kept it probably for a while under 1,500 when I was around 230 pounds. And then, which I didn't know at the time, you have to reset it after a while. Once I reset it, putting in my current weight, it dropped me down to 12,000, which is the lowest it can go. And what kind of spurred it all was that my dad at the time was in the running for a trip with his company for the Bahamas. We'd never won a trip. He had before I was born, but I'd never been on one. I was very excited, but also knew the Bahamas was a warm place. So I knew I would most likely be having to wear a bathing suit, which at the time I wasn't comfortable with. I would usually wear some kind of one-piece suit that covered most of my body, and even then I would find other ways with a towel to cover it. And I was like, but I really want to feel comfortable enough to wear a bathing suit, not having to wear a bikini or anything, but just comfortable. So we had started talking about it because at that time I want to say we kind of gave up on the whole dieting thing because it just seemed like nothing worked. And this is coming from me and my dad, who he was known for a while for being a skinny guy. I mean, he had like muscles and stuff, but he's pretty fit. And because when he became overweight and I became overweight, we just didn't know what to do. And it was also kind of different for me because I just kind of always grew up overweight. I came from, my parents loved me, but they had two very different situations of how they dealt with food. So when we finally got to this, I told him, I remember I was sitting down, we were eating burgers, and I said, I want to try this app thing. And it just says low calorie. So we kind of said, we'll try it for a week, see what happens. Worst case scenario, we gain a little, as if we weren't going to gain it doing nothing. We did it, and the first week he lost 6 pounds and I lost 4. And it wasn't like we were starving ourselves or anything, but it's just because we made that big change. And from there, it went pretty well, because the first couple of weeks we were very strict with ourselves, which we usually are when we start new diets. We were doing sandwiches on low-calorie bread with sliced cheese and some ham, or we do another version of that, like a quesadilla, but just swapping out the bread for a low-calorie tortilla. And probably I want to say about the third week, we were like, well, I see on Chick-fil-A's website, they list their calories for sandwiches. Why don't we try one of those? And we still kept losing weight when we did drive-thrus. So we kept going. And about a year and a half later, he had lost 50 or so pounds and I had lost 70. And I felt amazing. I will say we did get the trip, but we didn't hit our goal weight before then, which made sense because I believe it was about July, that time of year, that we really started it. And the trip was happening in late September, early October. So it wouldn't have really been healthy to try and beat those weights. But we finally got there. I want to say by that point I was down 30 or so pounds. So it was still good. I felt confident in myself to even wear kind of a bikini. And a bikini top, and I'll post pictures in if I can find them, a little bikini skirt. And I remember I was so excited about that one because before we had started on this, I remember it was Mother's Day actually. I'd found this one online and I knew I wouldn't be able to fit into it, or I would, but I would not look good. And I wanted that to be my like comeback kind of outfit. I had heard about those, like when I get to this weight, I'll be able to fit into these jeans or this shirt. I wanted that to be it because I had never worn a bikini. Uh, and I wore it on that trip, and I was very excited for it. But I kept it so that when I was taking progress pictures, I would have something to kind of compare by. And it turned out really well because I think you don't realize when you see yourself every single day in the mirror, you don't notice the changes. But the pictures don't lie. So, what are some tips I have for losing weight? One is progress pictures. Don't take them every day. I wouldn't even recommend taking them every week because when I did them, I remember and I ended up crying in the bathroom at one point because the scale was saying I had been losing a couple of pounds, but I couldn't see it. And it was kind of this idea, well, I should be able to see it. And the truth is, no, 6 pounds, you're not going to notice. Other people might, but you won't because you see yourself every single day in the mirror. So I recommend, if you're losing a lot of weight in a short amount of time, maybe twice a month. I prefer closer to once a month. And when you do, you can actually scroll up and there's a notes part of your picture if you're taking it on an iPhone. Type in the weight for there. And then once you have them all, you can have them side by side and it shows, okay, this is your size when you were 200, this is your size when you were 180. And that's when you really start to notice. My second tip is the foods you're eating. So portions. I hate measuring out portions. Like when it says you can have a fourth a cup of fruit, because I never knew if that meant, okay, it says I can have a fourth a cup of strawberries. Well, is it just I put them into slices and when it fills up, that's it? Or is it I could dice them into little pieces and put as much as I can in there? Because those are going to be two different amounts. So I really recommend get something that's already pre-portioned. Like I talked about how I would make sandwiches. Get the sliced cheese because it will say on the label for every one slice, this is how many calories you have. Two, I really recommend you don't have to go without your snacks. We think you can't have chips, you can't have sweets, nothing. That's not true. If you go and look at like Walmart, you will see they make these individual little chips for lunchboxes. A lot of those, especially like I get Funyuns or baked snaps, or they have the baked chips. Any of those typically range about 100 calories, or they have the individual little Pringles, which usually are about 110 calories. And they're not big, but they're good for if you just want to have some of those chips or that flavor, the feeling, or if you just need a little push. You're not that hungry, but you need something to hold you over. That's a good one to go with. Same thing for fruit or sweets. I recommend if you're really craving something like a Reese's, they have zero sugar Reese's. Those are about 33 calories a piece for the little mini Reese's, which sound maybe like a lot for the little things, but it's good if you have a big craving for it. You can find a lot of the minis for chocolate can be factored into your daily diet. Puddings, they have sugar-free puddings like the vanilla and the chocolate ones, and those I believe are about 65 to 75 calories, which is really good if you're wanting something. The little cupped fruits that you would see in lunchboxes, those are also very good on calories. As for drinks, I recommend your diets sodas. So Mountain Dew, Sprite Zero, Diet Coke, all those good ones. You can also get, I like Mio, which is the water flavoring. I get bottles of water and I put Mio in it. Especially if you think you're bloated right now or you have a lot of water weight on, do a week of just getting Mio and water because that water weight will shed off. And when it does, you might lose half a pound. It's also good for a fresh restart because I love my diet sodas, but sometimes it can put me on the wrong track. It can make me want to eat not so healthy things. But I guess speaking of not healthy, your cheat days. I want to say even before I started this diet, I did it twice a month. And I mean like one cheat meal. So I would have one dinner meal twice a month that I could have anything I wanted. And there were a couple of issues with that. One, the biggest thing is that because they were so far spread out, I would end up just gorging myself on them. And for the longest time, the day after would be a nightmare. I'd be in the bathroom all day. It would hurt. I'd have to have like Pepto stored next to the toilet in my bathroom because I would just be preparing for it. I'd have water set up all by my bed in hopes to make it better. But once we started this diet, I believe we didn't even plan to have the weekly cheat nights. It was still only one meal, but when we started doing that, it's because of a scheduling thing. We had something coming up where we couldn't do, I believe it was a meeting where they were providing dinner. We couldn't do the usual every 2 weeks. So we're like, we'll just do it where we put another cheat meal into it. So that way, technically, for 3 weeks straight, we're having a cheat meal. And we're like, even if it goes bad, we'll get back on it. It actually turned out better. I think we still ended up losing weight because of it. And so we started doing consistently every Friday night a cheat meal. And then occasionally we would go, we'll switch it to a Saturday instead. And it just felt so good. I wasn't gorging myself anymore because before it felt like if I don't have this in this meal right now, then I won't have another good meal for 2 weeks. So I need to eat this, or even if it hurts. But with these meals, I could have what I wanted and feel fine the next day. I wasn't just gorging myself or making myself sick. It was amazing, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. And I got to try new foods because before it's like, well, stick to what you know. Because if you really like this deep fried thing, then you won't get it for 2 more weeks, so you better have it today. That's not true now. I'll have it out another week. Even now, I get some of the unhealthy foods that I want through drive-thrus because I can. I recommend Sonic, Taco Bell, or Chick-fil-A because they list their calories and they're already pre-portioned. It can be a little harder for Taco Bell just because, some of the workers will eyeball it, how much to put on, but they're usually not far off. I really like Chick-fil-A the most because it's portioned beforehand and you can't really vary too much off of it, which I will say for anything you eat, and it's a number one rule: watch your sauces. I love ranch. Anything I would dip ranch in. I found out ranch was my biggest enemy when I looked at the calories. You'll be surprised. Sometimes even barbecue sauce would be healthier calorie-wise than some of the ranches I would be eating. So I had to stop the dipping sauces for a while just because they would say, well, you can have ranch, but it's going to be this much ranch. And I would be like, well, I can't have a whole meal with just that much ranch. But after a while, I started not needing sauces, which was awesome. I really enjoyed it. And you just really got to watch those sauces, man, because they'll get you without realizing it. I guess one of the biggest things I also didn't realize the struggle of was bouncing between overeating and the other end, which there's a word for it, but I'm worried YouTube will demonetize me. So I'm just going to say it starts with an A, and it's, instead of overeating, it's the exact opposite. I wasn't told there was a limit to how low you can go. So I would just be told, eat less, like calorie-wise. Keep eating less. You don't need that many portions, all that stuff. So I just kept going and going and going. And eventually I got to 600 calories a day. And I made sure, I had rules. Make sure you're not starving. If you feel hungry, you eat. But I wasn't feeling hungry. So I thought that was normal. And then I happened to bring it up with my dad. And he goes, you need to be eating more than that. So I've slowly had to start not pushing myself to eat more, but like I go ahead and put in every single day what I'm going to be eating beforehand, just so that there's not a chance I might undereat. So we typically have dinner scheduled out for the week. So I just have to schedule my lunches and breakfast, which is especially good when school starts back up because I'll have to pack them anyway. But now I try to aim for about 1,000 calories. And then if I work out, I know I need more because of it. So I'll aim for 1,200 calories. And I know that's on the lower side. I know. But sometimes at 1,200 calories, I physically feel like I'm bloated, like I don't know how to explain it. It just hurts. So I just make sure you're not hungry at all. You are meeting the minimum number of calories. I've talked with people and made sure it was safe, all that stuff. I've packed snacks in there so that if I ever get close to being low, I have something else. And I guess that also just goes into the next struggle, which was family reactions. I had both on either end. On one hand, one of my biggest supporters was my dad, but he knew how to balance it. He wasn't going to just overreact, like, oh my goodness, wow. But he also wasn't going to ignore it. On one hand, you would think overreactions are awesome. You want them, but sometimes they'd be a bit much. I'll say I had one family member, I won't say her name. She's a bit older, so I know she means 100% hell by it. But every time she'd see me, she'd be like, I can tell you've lost weight. And you think that's good, which it is sometimes, but it can hurt when you know you've gained 5 pounds that week, or that you've been on a plateau, or you've been gaining for a bit, and then someone goes, well, I can tell you've still been losing weight. It makes you feel like they're not being authentic, which it isn't true. You know they are, but it can hurt. On the other hand, one of my biggest struggles was I had 2 family members who did not say anything about it. And I wasn't looking for praise. I was looking for acknowledgement. I had struggled with my weight for years. I mean, I was at least overweight when I was a child, bordering on obese some years, just for my age demographic. And the weird thing was that I played sports as a kid. I ran track, but I had a visible gut and stuff. So when, you struggle with that, and then you go diet after diet, and sometimes you'd lose a little, but then gain it back, and nothing works, and then you finally find something that works, and not just a little, you lose a lot. You gotta imagine, I was at 230 pounds, and then I got down into the 150s, and then nothing from them. It hurt, because also, I gotta admit, I thought I was being sneaky. I thought I'd wear shirts like this so it would cover up a lot of my body. I thought maybe if they didn't see my belly area or my thighs, they couldn't tell that I lost weight. And my plan was, okay, right when I get to my goal weight, then I'll wear something super form-fitting so it shows off. I didn't realize at the time weight loss also shows in the face, because it goes back to that thing I said where you don't notice your weight loss as much because you see yourself every day. And I kept waiting, and I put on more form-fitting clothing. They never said anything, and I don't get to see them as often. I'll probably see them 3 times a year, just because my mom lives in a different state and my sister has a husband and kids. So they have their own lives, and I'm thinking, well, it's going to be more of a shock when they see me. Nothing. And then I found out they knew. They talked about it with each other, but didn't want to say anything to me or acknowledge that I had lost the weight. I will note that my mom is overweight, and I thought maybe that had a role to play with it. And then at the time, my sister had a child about a year prior, maybe a little less. And I thought that's why I honestly gave her a pass for a while, because I was thinking, well, maybe she's insecure about her body, because I've heard about that from a lot of women postpartum, which is they're insecure with their body. So I didn't think she'd want to say anything to me just for a little bit, or maybe she didn't even notice because she's got a newborn. So, but to find out that they knew, they talked about it with each other, and they just didn't want to say anything to me, acknowledge it. I mean, I don't want a big party. I just wanted some, hey, I noticed you lost weight. Good job. The little good jobs are the biggest thing to me. So it hurt, and it was kind of interesting in a way. I posted about my weight loss on my social media, and I acknowledged my dad, my other family members, and some of the people I work with, my friends, everyone who noticed, but I didn't mention them. And then all of a sudden, they said something. Like a month after the post, they were like, "Oh, I noticed you lost weight," it was the next time I had seen him. I was like, "You notice now that I posted and didn't include your names as part of the people who said anything." But kind of funnier, my mother actually admitted to me when she got mad once. She was like, "Well, we were just so upset you didn't put us in your Instagram post." And it was kind of like, why would I be lying if I said that you ever acknowledged that you said anything? Because it wasn't supposed to be a mean post. It was supposed to be a gratitude one. Like, thank you so much to everyone who said something about it. Tips, acknowledgement, anything. And for you not to say anything about it hurt. But nothing changed much after that. But we're still on good terms. So that's all you really can ask. As for exercise, I will say, I didn't exercise for most of it. And you might be going, well, exercise is part of it. That's true, but I was very nervous. When you don't have any diets that work and then all of a sudden one does work, you don't want to change anything. I was so nervous that if I dropped, if I exercised more and my calories went down and stuff more, I would somehow mess it up. So it was only once we got close to starting a plateau that we exercised, and now we just kind of balance it out. My last thing I want to say is don't be scared when it fluctuates. Like right now, I'm in the 150s, and I'm at a point where I don't want to lose weight number-wise. I'd like to tone, my stomach is flatter, but it took most of the weight away from my legs and my arms and left the gut, which I know it's like a family thing, but I'd like to tone there. But I also understand at the same time that means the scale's probably going to fluctuate. It might show I gained 2 pounds, but my body remains the exact same. So don't get to a point where you feel okay with the number and then get up super upset or scared when it fluctuates, because it's going to happen. It really is. I'm going to try and link some of the stuff below that I used to help me out. But that's it. Be proud in what you do. Be proud of your body and be proud of your progress. Even if nobody says anything to you, no, just know. It's, you know yourself, you know your change, and you should be proud of yourself. And that's the only one that should matter. I know it's a bit of a somber note, but if you have any questions, comment them down below, like the button, and subscribe for some more videos. I'm going to try and work out this account and just see what I want. I'm thinking maybe some stuff about my college days, how I'm working to become a teacher, maybe my acne story, or just anything you guys find interesting. So thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye, shortcakes.